So before I get into my personal accounts, I would like to clear up some misconceptions about why we are here today. To begin, of course, all lives matter. Black Lives Matter is not protesting this idea or implying that Black lives are superior to others. However, if firefighters were to walk down a street, all of the homes would matter, but they would tend to the one that was on fire. The fire is the racism that has been lit for over 400 years. Why we say Black Lives Matter is because Black homes are the ones that are on fire.
There you go.
Furthermore, white privilege does not mean that your life is not hard. We recognize that everyone's lives may be difficult. White privilege speaks to the fact that white people's lives are not specifically hard because they are white. In other words, white homes may burn, but they're not burning because they're white. I recognize my privilege as a light-skinned person. I am more likely to face discrimination than white people, but less likely than people of darker skin complexion. In recognizing my own privilege, I urge others to do the same. With that being said, I am privileged to have grown up in Skaneateles. It took a village of kind and loving people to raise me. These people have helped shape me into the young woman I am today. And for that, I am incredibly thankful. But there was a time when I did not feel embraced here. As many of you know, after my 9th grade year at Skaneateles High School, I left for St. Paul's boarding school in New Hampshire. Many of you know that I left, but do not know why I chose to leave this town that I felt so privileged to live in. When I was 15, I left for boarding school because, as a person of color, felt that I had no other choice. My spirit was wilting for reasons that I could not understand, and I needed to be in a different environment. Graduating from St. Paul's this year has caused me to reflect on my experience throughout my 4 years. When I went to St. Paul's, I entered a whole new world filled with different cultures and races. I bonded with Black girls over what products they used for their hair. I joined affinity groups and had thought-provoking discussions that helped me comprehend the racist encounters I endured here in Skaneateles. During my time at St. Paul's, I came to an understanding that when I was going through my middle and high school years at Skaneateles, I would look the other way when I became uncomfortable. I could not grapple why I felt so uncomfortable in a town that, in my eyes, was perfect. My first encounter with racism that I can remember was when I was 6 and I was called the N-word. When I went to school, certain students would proudly wear Confederate flag shirts. I found social media postings of Hitler and the Ku Klux Klan posted by my classmates. People who I thought were my friends complained that it was so unfair that Black people got everything they wanted. I was told to get over slavery because white people can't apologize forever when I refuted their argument. A school official felt morally obliged to tell my mother that a friend's mom asserted that I got nominated for a STEM program simply because I was Black and not of my academic credentials. One time in class, a classmate said that the boy who was out sick probably had Ebola because he was hanging out with Black people too much. I was the only one in my class who spoke up. Everyone else remained silent. These are only a few racial instances that come to mind when I think of my time here. There are many more subtle instances of racism. Now, you may be thinking that these incidences reflect individual ignorance. But when other students and school officials witnessed this behavior, they stood complicit and silent. People who I trusted became silent bystanders when they became uncomfortable. I felt as if I was drowning. But from now on, we will not be silenced. I feel an immense sense of gratitude to be a part of my community. We marched for Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And we still cry for Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin, and Michael Brown, and the thousands who died at the hands of racism. We have been battling this disease for centuries, which has cut deep scars into our American history. George Floyd may have been a wake-up call for some, but the alarm has been ringing since the first slave ship touched Native American soil in 1619. My Uncle Alvin knew and marched alongside of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s to fight for his basic human rights. My grandfather grew up in the Deep South with the weight of the Jim Crow laws upon his shoulders. Today, I am continuing their fight. I am telling you my personal experiences because I'm not looking for pity, but for a collective initiative for my predominantly white community to become active bystanders when we are uncomfortable. We have acknowledged that racism is a beast that still breathes fire into the heart of the United States. Our country is on fire, and we must work collectively with all races in order to extinguish the flames. Yeah. Seeking liberation for people of color in the United States is not politically motivated. This is a human rights crisis and should be treated as such. When you witness racism and you choose not to speak up, you are protecting racists and allowing the system to continue as it was designed. You are allowing for this assault on humanity to advance. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I am fighting for reform and policy change because I don't want my child to live in a country that is on fire and will burn them when they're innocent. If you remember anything from my speech today, I want you to remember this. This movement affects you directly. If you believe they are unaffected by suffering Black lives, you're wrong. The dehumanization of Blacks in America affects humanity as a whole. All lives will not matter until Black lives are treated with dignity. This is not negotiable. America will not be the land of the free and the home of the brave until Black lives are free and the bystanders are brave. Thank you.